problem that cannot be solved in isolation. As pioneers of efficient market solutions, best solar resources, and untapped renewable energy potential, who see only the challenges posed by climate change, and they never see the opportunity, revolution, and transformation.
An urgent vision for working together across continents and across. It was just before the start of the 5th Strait to feed on. I spoke with pastoralist families who before the drought.
Both the potential and the ambition to be a vital component of the global solution.
People who had struggled for years to keep their families fed and therefore in supporting their efforts. President Ruto has led
He's the founding director of the Carr Center for Human Rights Policy, largest bilateral development agency.
Avoiding a climate catastrophe, but it is also base for renewable technologies strengthened daily, and over 50% increase compared to 20 generation to be renewable 100% by 2030, which is in just 6 short years. More importantly, we aim to expand our grid and electricity generation to power green growth.
Graduates from SAIS. Sam Power is the first USA administrator
offering a vital workforce in Africa has the potential to be a crucial part of the climate catastrophe. One, protecting our nation to address global issues, global challenges, and provide global solutions. I am delighted to discuss the potential that Kenya, and by extension Africa as a whole, of Africa. Climate change is central to our development challenges. Scientists deem necessary. This opens up huge potential opportunity for Africa, not just in
Thank you. Okay. So go in the anteroom. Yes, I'm going to take them to the anteroom.
MCC.
Okay.
Cheers.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I am delighted to discuss the potential that Kenya, and by extension Africa as a whole, offer, along with our ambitious resolutions to accelerate progress. The existential threat of climate change to humanity, and indeed to all life on Earth, and I speak this authoritatively as a scientist myself, is now very well established. In 2023, for example, we broke many records we do not wish to, nor can we afford to break again. The hottest year on record was 2023. The wettest in some regions, the driest in others. The first 4 months of this year have also registered record warmth, with each month being the hottest on record. In Africa, climate change is central to our development challenges. Kenya, as you've heard from my sister Samantha, is currently experiencing one of the worst floods on record, following years of devastating drought. And as these events become increasingly uninsurable, they undermine people's livelihoods and, of course, financial security. Climate change impacts have affected the lives and livelihoods of hundreds of thousands of people, occasioning losses in GDP of anywhere between 5% and 15% annually in our continent. The rising costs of adaptation are diverting funds from essential services like health, education, social services, potentially destabilizing our continent and the globe in general. Africa has the potential to be a crucial part of the solution for the world. With our massive untapped renewable energy potential, the world's youngest and fastest growing workforce, and abundant natural assets, our continent has the fundamentals to be a major player in the three critical areas needed to avert the climate catastrophe. 1, protecting our natural carbon sinks. 2, greening global production and consumption. And 3, removing carbon from our air. We know that the world's industrialized nations and fast-growing emerging economies will not achieve net zero goals within the timelines scientists deem necessary. This opens up huge potential opportunity for Africa, not just in limiting its own emissions, but in helping accelerate reduction of emissions elsewhere. This will not only help the world decarbonize, but it will also enable Africa thrive and grow. Growth, development, and living within planetary boundaries do not need to be at odds. A large young population that sees their livelihoods eroded, as was mentioned ably by Samantha here, and has no future prospects, is a very destabilizing factor, both at home and abroad, driving migration and causing instability. Our electricity generation is 93% renewable from geothermal, hydro, wind, and solar. We aspire for our electricity generation to be renewable 100% by 2030, which is in just 6 short years. More importantly, we aim to expand our grid and electricity generation to power green growth to 100 gigawatts by 2040 to support a middle-income country with a green industrial and manufacturing backbone. When one is as green as we are, the challenge transcends a mere green transition. Our potential and ambition reach much higher. We aim to realize climate-positive, clean growth. Opportunities abound, from primary processing and smelting of minerals to electric mobility, clean cooking transformations, green data centers, and regenerative agriculture. You may have noticed yesterday there was an announcement of investment of $1 billion by Microsoft, G42, EcoCloud of Kenya, to build a regional data center in Kenya. That speaks to some of the opportunities green energy and green industrialization can bring about. Climate change is a global problem that cannot be solved in isolation. As pioneers of efficient market solutions, we all understand that compartmentalization leads to sub-optimization. Failing to recognize and build on areas where partners and friends can be more efficient and effective together drives up costs and slows down transition and even undermines innovation. Our countries need transformational investment to build climate resilience, transform our economies, and respond to crisis. The world urgently needs to mobilize larger amounts of resources to facilitate green transition and tackle climate crisis. While I firmly believe in global collaboration, we must also recognize the necessity of long-term strategic partnerships. Supply chain disruptions during the COVID-19 pandemic have highlighted the importance of resilience. Growing global insecurity demands of us to recognize the power of meaningful collaboration and agency.
President Ruto has led efforts to respond to disasters effectively and promptly. He has led efforts to surge support to those on the front lines of the climate crisis. But importantly, he has also refused to simply accept the idea that this crisis will resign us to a more dangerous, more unequal, less prosperous future. Instead, he is showing how nations can drive economic growth by investing in climate solutions, just as President Biden has done with the Inflation Reduction Act. As President Ruto has said, quote, "We must see in green growth not just a climate imperative, but a fountain of multi-billion-dollar economic opportunities that Africa and the world are primed to capitalize on," end quote. President Ruto is leading extraordinary efforts to take advantage of those opportunities. Already, as many of you know, Kenya generates more than 90% of its energy from renewable sources, making it one of the world's top clean power producers. But even that standout performance is not enough for President Ruto. He is leading a push to generate all of Kenya's power from renewable sources by 2030, and as a regional leader and a global leader to help other nations to make this same transition.